Tulsi Gabbard announced a new intelligence community task force with the goal of restoring transparency. She told Fox News that the task force wants to, quote, rebuild trust in the intelligence community, execute the tasks required by President Trump's intelligence-related executive orders.
You know, the American people's trust in the intelligence community has been eroded and undermined really for decades. There have been intelligence failures, abuses of power, weaponization and politicization of the intelligence that the community provides. Our team that is made up of some of the most talented intelligence officers across the community who love our country and who have been so disgusted and betrayed by leaders who have weaponized it to serve their own political or personal interests. It's not just as simple as saying, okay, hey, go and find these documents. We'll declassify them and release them tomorrow. As you can imagine, the more we dig, the more we find. And we see how people are sometimes, in some cases, resistant to providing us with those documents. In other cases, they have been hidden with the hopes that no one would ever find them.
The ODNI, Office of the Director of National Intelligence, because Director Gabbard has set up this new Directors Initiatives group, the DIG. Sort of the kind of a play on Doge, but different in the sense that they're not just looking at things to cut, they're also looking at things to declassify or possibly make more transparent than we've seen in the past. And certainly we know about the assassinations, we know about MLK and RFK and JFK, all of this is coming forward. But Benz, I wanted to get your thoughts as well on these particular rabbit holes that within the intel community that the DIG can perhaps take a look at if you had a wish list.
Well, I would start with an organizing framework around what I've been calling the undeclared second Cold War against populism. I think this actually is a door that will open 1,000 other doors. This is a massive undertaking to declassify intelligence documents. I can't really think of something with this broad and sprawling a mandate as what Director Gabbard has been given. If you look at the press release for the announcement, it was almost 20 executive orders or something to that effect that this is pursuant to, most significantly weaponization against Americans. And then secondarily on that list I saw was enforcing the free speech executive order that President Trump signed on day one. And both of these things, I think, come to a head in what I believe has been a Cold War that we've been in, but not known that we've been in. And by we, I mean the American people. We, the American people, our fathers and mothers and grandparents, knew they were in a Cold War with Russia. It was there was no secret that there was an intelligence community-wide effort against left-wing communism. I think the American people, by and large, have no clue that they have been that their intelligence community has been involved in a worldwide effort against right-wing populism. And so there has not been the historiography created from the record of the Cold War today for the past 10 years, really starting with Trump and Brexit in 2016, that have seen the CIA, the DOD, the State Department, USAID, and then all of their tentacles across the private sector, the media, the NGOs, the universities, the civil society organizations that are funded by the State Department, USAID, the intelligence community, in order to orchestrate this. And I think that if you simply run a keyword search, for example, for the word populism and populist, or for all their little proxy terms like backsliding, democratic backsliding, or illiberal. This is another one that they do. They say This is all done in the name of democracy promotion. And the reason you have Republicans like the Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney quotient that support going after illiberal democracies is it's sort of small L liberal, and it's a reference to the liberal rules-based international order. Because all this stuff, all these CIA operations, all the CI-connected ones through state and USAID are done in the name of democracy promotion. This was our weapon during the Cold War against communism. It wasn't just that we were going to tear down communism. It was because communism was against democracy. And we've been following this Woodrow Wilsonian edict to make the world a safe place for democracy, which means that the world is a safe place for the State Department and USAID and the CIA to operate in, as long as they can create a predicate that something is undemocratic or an illiberal democracy, or it's technically a democracy, but it's going through democratic backsliding. And so, honestly, just a simple keyword to understand the world through that lens, and to use that as a shaping framework for whatever area of weaponization you want to go through first, I think is very powerful. And for me, the free speech aspect is paramount, because it's one thing everyone knows we have a First Amendment here in the U.S. That protects U.S. citizens, but foreign citizens are not protected by the First Amendment, which means the CIA gets to play all sorts of games with the media. They get to play all sorts of games with censorship at the international level that they are not allowed to do at home. But if they work with those censorship organizations, or they draw a line between a foreign country that they call an autocrat or illiberal and the U.S. president, they can catch millions, tens of millions of Americans up in those crosshairs. We saw their little proxies, for example, do this in Brazil with the National Democracy and a group called IFES, which is supposed to be involved in elections, openly saying that they were involved in the throttling of pro-Bolsonaro content because of the international exchange of ideas between the Bolsonaro movement in Brazil and the Trump movement in the U.S. So they would not be allowed to do that here at home. But by saying that there's a straight line you can draw between Trump and Trump supporters and our foreign enemies or adversaries or illiberal governments abroad, they can conflate those two, just like they did with Russiagate, and catch up basically all of American media in the process. And I believe that's exactly what happened. You don't get joint unified effort between the State Department, USAID, the Pentagon, and all of the connected NGOs without getting the CIA, because they are all doing the CIA activity of promoting democracy through control over the information sphere. I know, for example, because I published this. Can I just make one last point? Sorry, just and then I'll turn back to you. I'm sorry. In December 2021, President Biden set up something called the Information Integrity Working Group out of the White House. It had 26 cooperating government agencies. Information integrity is a censorship watchword that chops up information and news into low integrity and high integrity sources, and then says we need to censor the low integrity ones. Well, everyone pro-Trump is low integrity, according to their definition. One of the 26 partnered agencies was the Central Intelligence Agency, directly involved in that work. Every single file, for example, there on information integrity and on the targets in the populist space could be unveiled by ODNI and all the other government agencies tasked with declassification.